Picture this: billions of euros flowing out of Europe into the pockets of fraudsters. That's the staggering scale of the smuggling operation we're uncovering today. The magnifying glass falls on the textile industry, a playground for Chinese fraudsters who have found a way to smuggle clothing into the EU, bypassing import fees and costing the region a fortune in lost revenue. A sophisticated charade is played out on the paperwork for imported containers, where the value of goods is systematically understated. Imagine a designer dress worth hundreds of euros being passed off as a cheap knockoff. That's the audacity and the ingenuity of this operation. A game of numbers and deception, a dance around the law that's leaving the EU billions of euros lighter. The European Public Prosecutor's Office estimates the damages to be around 1 billion euros, a number that's hard to fathom. But how does such a massive operation go unnoticed? Let's delve into the cunning scheme. The wheel of this operation turns on two pivotal aspects: the evasion of value-added tax, VAT, and the prioritization of an undisturbed flow of goods over extensive controls. The fraudsters use a crafty method to dodge the VAT payments. They understate the value of the goods on the paperwork for imported containers. By doing this, they are able to significantly reduce the import fees they are required to pay, saving themselves a hefty sum while costing the European Union billions of euros. But the cunning doesn't stop there. The fraudsters have tapped into the pulse of the import-export industry. They know that the uninterrupted flow of goods is prioritized over extensive checks. This understanding allows them to slip through the cracks, making their nefarious activities difficult to detect. Now you might be wondering, is this happening everywhere? The answer is no. Certain European Union countries have emerged as hotspots for these operations. Greece, Hungary, Poland, and the Netherlands are some of the countries that have become the preferred playgrounds for these fraudsters. The scale of this operation and the countries involved might lead you to believe that there would be severe penalties to deter such activities. But here's the twist. Despite the United Kingdom imposing penalties for similar fraud, the customs fraud at EU borders continues unabated. Despite the UK's penalties for similar fraud, customs fraud at EU borders continues unabated, with Greece, Hungary, Poland, and the Netherlands serving as hotspots. The EU is not sitting idle in the face of this massive fraud. A response is in motion. Indeed, the European Union is gearing up to tackle this issue head-on. The EU Commission has an ambitious plan to establish a central database and risk software. This innovative system is designed to detect customs fraud and bring an end to these illicit activities. It's an effort that aims to protect the economic stability of the Union and its member states. The database and risk software will serve as a sophisticated network, enabling the EU to better track and monitor the import of goods. By doing so, it will be easier to identify discrepancies and flag potential fraudulent activities. But the implementation of this system is not a task that can be achieved overnight. In fact, it will take a considerable amount of time before this system is fully operational. The forecast is that it will not be fully launched until the year 2032. That's a wait of about 8 years from now. This delay is due to the complexity of the task at hand and the need to ensure that the system is foolproof and effective. Moreover, the participation in this system will be voluntary. This means that the member states will have the discretion to decide whether or not they wish to utilize this new tool. It's a decision that will likely be influenced by their assessment of the cost and benefits of the system. While the response is a step in the right direction, it's clear that there's a long road ahead in the fight against smuggling operations. So what have we learned today? We've uncovered the massive scale of a smuggling operation where Chinese fraudsters have been systematically importing textiles into Europe, dodging import fees and costing the EU billions of euros. They've been cunningly understating the value of the goods on the paperwork for imported containers, which has made detection a challenge. The European Public Prosecutor's Office is currently investigating around 230 cases of such customs fraud, with an estimated damage of around 1 billion euros. We've also learned that this scheme involves not only customs fraud but also tax evasion, particularly in the form of unpaid VAT. The EU's response, while robust, faces challenges due to the prioritization of the undisturbed flow of goods over extensive controls. However, with planned measures such as a central database and risk detection software, the EU is gearing up to tackle such fraud head-on. though it's a lengthy process with full implementation not expected until 2032. With billions at stake and the complexity of the scheme, it's clear that tackling smuggling operations is a Herculean task. But the fight is on, and the EU is arming itself for the battle ahead.